Just want to make a quick video since I've been a little bit caught up in my travels, but I want to take a day, or at least an hour, to remember COVID and that whole nightmare. I mean, it's 2024 now, and basically, I don't think about COVID at all anymore. And it's kind of nice because I used to get really kind of angry when I thought about COVID. And I would kind of not get too angry because it's something I couldn't really do much about. It's like I can only do my best in the world, and if it's something that's like outside of my control, like some kind of supposed virus that's infected the whole planet, like I can't get too angry at that. I just have to live my own best life, and that's pretty much what I did. I just traveled, and I went to Colombia, and now I'm here in the Philippines, and did a lot of good work while I was while that whole COVID thing was going on, and it let me work from home. So if anything, I should be very grateful in a lot of ways because it happened. But at that time when COVID first started, I just remember being like very against the whole thing. Um, then again, I was against a lot of stuff. I was against like how the United States is changing, like in terms of the family structure. And anyway, I don't want to get too off the topic here, but I do think that I'm a little bit concerned at. I don't know if I want to be concerned at people or the stupidity of people, or maybe there is some really powerful people, some wealthy people that try to push narratives, and that is what made everybody get in lockstep for COVID. Uh, I don't know. Usually, I don't want to think of it as like some powerful people trying to push narrative, but I do think that it is odd that certain things in my lifetime have been pushed so hard only in a few amount of years. Because when I was going to school, I don't think I heard anything at all about the trans movement. But after I graduated, which was like 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now, that stuff just went haywire. And in the past 4 years, COVID happened. And when COVID happened, it was almost like the governments were handing out a script for most blue pilled people to follow, like most regular people. So if you didn't think creatively, if you didn't think independently, you were going to follow the script. And it was very frustrating because as somebody who I really started thinking creatively after I graduated, after I thought about life, after I thought about infinity, after I thought about God, after I thought about the reason why humans exist on this planet, it made me realize that we should not be fearful and that most people are fearful. So if you are a creative person, don't be fearful. And everybody was being fearful. So it was hard for me to cope with seeing everybody be so fearful around me and yet not having a voice or a certain amount of power that could change things for the better when I knew things were that I was actually correct. And I am correct because I could see, like, even if I don't have this power, this thing can't last too long. Like I almost envisioned COVID. I was a little bit wrong about COVID when it first started, so I need to be careful. But when it first started, I couldn't believe that people were paying attention to it, and I was a little bit concerned that the American economy would suffer if they were locked down too long. And then I remember talking to one of my bosses at the time, and he was like, "Man, this thing's gonna last 5 years," and he said it with like I don't know with certainty. And I was like, "Man, I can't." Like, assuming he's correct on that, I can't go with him the whole way. But it just like blew my mind at the time, and it was good because later it let me do work from home, which freed up my own personal life a lot. So in some weird way, God is like working in a mysterious way to like make me very free. But another way is very annoying that there's just so much stupidity by so many people, and I just want to take this moment to remember all of that, because it's almost like that stupidity is just so being quickly erased, and it's very frustrating. It's like, hey, how about we take a step back and go back, and talk about that more? How about we just start changing the governments up? But it's like, no, we're wrong. We're gonna still be in power. Just forget it happened. We overstepped our boundaries. We thought, you would really follow the script forever. And then, yeah, it was kind of like maybe there was like, if there is like if it's like an orchestrated event where it's like these like rich people are, feeding us information that's incorrect and claiming it is correct, then yeah, I don't think it's that though, because it's too hard to get that many people to be lockstep. But it was damn close. And no matter what, they were never gonna change like certain people's opinions. It was just too stupid. But it was insane at the same time. It was insane how people just believed those face masks did something. How you couldn't go into restaurants, how they started to do like the little chips to be able to go in. So it was very like 1984-esque. And yeah, it's just sad that most people have no idea about what a classic liberal means, about liberty, about freedom. And then again, like I'm only 34 years old, which is small in comparison to the great scheme of the earth and humanity. Um, but yeah, I do think that I only have so much of a relative view of things. So if we zoom out and we say like, oh man, like I probably wasn't around for like, I don't know, maybe something like going off the gold standard, or being taxed, getting an income tax, and all these things like that. That I probably still don't think is a good idea, but you have difficulty understanding this stuff if you're not like able to zoom out, and almost no one is. So you just have to do your best. You just have to do your best to deal with the situation. So I'm trying to do my best here by like making a timestamp of COVID and of what I'm feeling now, because man, it's sad. Even today, it's like people still talk about it like it's like the blue pilled way. It's like, oh, this thing actually existed, and it was tough being like so logical about COVID when it was happening, because the logical part of my brain made it. It's kind of like talking about like finances with people. It's like you don't, if you're a rich person, or if you're wise, or if you're like way off to an extreme, like even being healthy, even being like a vegan, or something like that. If you're just like way off to an extreme where you're just like unbelievably ahead or correct about some kind of result, where most people are way far behind, there's just too much of a gap to be able to easily relate. So you want to help those people, but like in order to help them, it's like you have to like send a little line, and like even then they get super offended, and it's like you're sending like this perfect line, well, very well constructed, but they just like tear it down, and it's a shame. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about love and compassion and doing unto others as you would want done unto you. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, let's say I'm in an alternate universe, or like this is just an alternate universe where like I'm the one who's like way onto the right, the like unproductive side, whereas like other people are way productive. It's like, what would I want be done unto me? Or it's like I'm part of like the unproductive people, and then somebody else who's really intelligent. It's like, because I think the numbers matter. You don't want to be part of the majority. I guess as outliers and things, but it's like, yeah, I think if you're just way ahead of people, just don't stress about life. Take it easy. Do what you can. It's a shame that you you have to you know, you have to kind of hold yourself back. But what else are you gonna do? There's too much of a gap. People are not gonna be able to connect in time. And yeah, even if we look at Jesus as an example, it's like he had to give his life for humanity. So it's like, if you think about that logically, it's like, hey, wouldn't it have been better for him to live so he could like be productive or something in a different way? And people just have better hearts, but they don't. So he had to give his life. So that's also why I think that is also kind of mentioned in the scripture where one of his disciples was like, he responded like, "Oh, you're Satan" or something, because he knew that like this had to happen. So yeah, I should also know that that this is all just part of time. These things have to play out in the way that they're meant to. So anyway, I just wanted to make a video to remember about COVID and to kind of talk about it, and also to just leave something if I ever have kids or something. Leave something for them, because I think one scary thing about this, or one sad thing about this, is that in the future they could rewrite COVID as being another disease having killed many people, just like the Spanish plague or just like polio. Because I wasn't around for polio or the Spanish plague, but when I read the history books, I just take that as verbatim. So for kids to really know what COVID was like, they might not, and they might just read those history books, and then history might be erased and replaced, and that is sad, because my version of COVID was that everybody was just following fake information that was provided by Google, that was provided by governments. Everybody was just wearing face masks. There was maybe I want to say 0.2% of people that were against this thing. I don't know, like some very small number, and it's kind of like, even the number, it was like a curve. It's like, oh yeah, some people would talk bad about it, but they would still get the jab, or the vaccine. Other people would, they would talk bad about it, and they would not get the vaccine. Or some people would get like only one vaccine, and it was so sad. And even then, I remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and I don't even know if he'll ever want to bring this up, but it's like, I remember talking to him and being like, "Yo, this is not." He just got his first vaccine. I'm like, "That's not your first. That's not the first vaccine that's gonna come." And sure enough, we had just multiple coming in, and I was just proved correct, and it's just sad. And I remember, yeah, it's just like a curve. It's like, how independent minded are you? And if you're really intelligent, you wouldn't have gotten it. And I do know some people who didn't get it, so thankfully those people didn't get it. But it's just sad how many people got it. Even people I'm very close with, they just got it, and it's just yeah, it's insane. I mean, that's just reality. This is reality we live in. But yeah, if I'm to give my own history of what COVID did, I mean, hopefully this video kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, a lot of people were listening to fake information, and that really was sad to see, because it just goes to show how far behind people are. And I don't want to think of, I never thought of myself as being like an outlier, really, but just like seeing that just made it crystal clear how much of an outlier I was in terms of my thinking. And yeah, I don't know if this video is going to rub people off the wrong way, but I just want to speak my truth, But yeah, I just also remember my own experiences with it, and just, it's probably not healthy for my emotional well-being, because it's probably better in some ways to be passive. So that's one reason why I didn't speak out so much against it, because you don't want to be super aggressive about your stance. Even if you're right, it's like you want to have some room for error. You want to give people some compassion and do things in moderation and have a heart about things because you're talking with other people. So, yeah. But it was still hard for me because just at times I just caught myself just being. Because at a certain point, they're infringing on your own rights, your own freedom. And that's the point where I just felt personally that it was too much. Like when I walked into an airport and they forced me to wear a mask because some other people might get a disease. Well, those people should stay at home. I shouldn't be the one that has to hold myself back. Like we should be able to transact with one another. Because what are we going to do? All just like one logical thing you need to think of is if everybody does what you do, will that create a better world or not? And it's kind of like the golden rule. It's like do unto others as you would want done unto you. And if everybody else is doing something that if you thought, okay, if everyone continues to do this, is the world going to be better or worse? If you see it as being worse, then you shouldn't do it. So if everybody's just staying indoors, locked in, not going out, getting a damaged economy, collecting welfare checks, using it as an excuse to not work too, because that's another big thing. I just remember hearing so many stories of people I work with. Oh, I have COVID, I'm going to take time off and I'm going to be lazy, and it's just sad. And it's like here I am, just like a hard worker, just like I didn't even want to ever. And it's tough at work too because you have to watch what you say, because you could get fired over something silly like this if you're that unlikable. So I do want to select my words and be compassionate for others, but it's hard. It's really hard because at what point is this like World War II, and everybody's just listening to Hitler? And you want to think like, oh, I wouldn't listen to Hitler, but maybe you would. I mean, it's the whole society, right? There's not that many like defectors, and I'm sure there was like loving, compassionate people, but they just kept their mouths shut. And it's just such a hard thing to reconcile, because I want to be like a kind person, a good-hearted person, not somebody who angers quickly. But then at the other end of the spectrum, it's like, am I just keeping my mouth shut when things really need to be said? Am I like letting things progress for the worse? And yeah, that was hard to cope with. So that's why it feels nice to express this stuff in a video and just get my thoughts out there as we forget about COVID. Because yeah, if my kids, potential kids, if I ever have kids, if they, or if any kids, if anyone's kids, reads a textbook, at least I want to have some video evidence out there that speaks against this. And yeah, but who knows if this video will even last the depths of time. Probably textbooks will outlast this video. Textbooks or information, fake information about COVID will outlast this video. But at least I'm doing what I can. I'm thinking about Bitcoin and stuff like that, and I mean, I could author my own book or something, but what are the chances it sells? And honestly, my own mind, I have so many ideas and thoughts that I don't know how to value something like the information that I'm outlining in the video, like my own experiences. But I do want, like, architects of the future, not architects, what do you call it? People who like study people who lived a long time ago. I want them to know what it was like. But whatever. Maybe it was fruitless. Anyway, I just figured I'd make this video. I just felt inspired to do it because it's a 20-minute video, but how many hours did those years of COVID take in everyone's mind, in my own mind? Like remember I was trying to force myself not to think about COVID and not to get upset over it. And another sad thing is just how quickly it accelerated time. So when you're locked in your home, not talking to people, time just goes by really quick. So I did my best to combat it, and in some ways it's made me more resilient, but it doesn't mean I liked it. Doesn't even mean I liked how it all began. And anyway, just figured I'd make this video because I really hated wearing that face mask.